Put him in the column. Constantly using ROI to whip people. That's him. Just because you are human, I want to warn other people. I've actually thought of a better way. He is now full of wonder, drinking a glass of wine. Then ask seriously what the way is. She laughed and said to try the medicine. I know how to cure my father's disease. But the medicine you have in your hands is limited. If anything goes wrong during the treatment, I can't take it either. Let him try the medicine. I think this is his last contribution. For the family bank. Don T, move your face for a few seconds. Look at the photographer. It's okay to agree. Then let him help my good nephew to try the medicine. In his heart, he thought that the VI of the dragon boat was not high. All of his friends are here. I'm sure he wouldn't dare play a game. The photographer continued, there is one more thing I would like to ask you, Father. It's in the domain of the World Bank. There's a lot of blood chains. Can I have some? Private does not translate casually replied. It's just blood chains. It's full if you want. Then you take it. If within 2 months, I can't get a prescription. But I didn't say it all. I was told by the police. Of course not. But I can mix it up a little bit. Help relieve the father's illness. It can also help you to restore the VI. Make him stupid to think. Can restore the practice VI SAO after my illness got worse. The names of other worlds began to grow in desire. My strength is the foundation of this family. Except a little bit. Then he can talk. You must be tired. At this time, the photographer laughed. I want to give you all the medicine. Forget it. We have to find a way to treat them. And thinking of this, he spoke up. If you want to combine this cure, I'm afraid I have to get out of this dimension. In the outside world, we find it. Private translation does not seem suspicious. Ask outside SAO, the photographer explained. You don't have to send the whole clan to pick medicine. Just send them out. If he asks, go out. How does it go outside? After our ancestors came here, I've never been out of this place. The photographer landed outside the Kier wilderness. There's a transmission, but if you want to start this fight, it takes 30 light stones. You just need to be able to find the light crystal. We can go out now. Make private, not translate. Start thinking about sending the battle. Even if it's open. We can destroy it at any time. So he agreed and said it. Just leave this to me. We've arranged for a special hospital where everyone stays. The soldiers will protect everyone's safety. So please rest assured to study the remedy for good. Multi-weight air client photographer. The whole group quickly returned to the hospital. 6 questions photographer. We feel like we're locked up. The photographer calmly replied, if you can get in, there will be a way out. Just rest assured to practice. There are a lot of heroes protecting us. Or they help us find the light crystal. It's dangerous here. Same with everyone. Should take the time to achieve. Level golden. I also agree with this and laugh softly. Park Trach notice. Someone seems to have come so far. The soldiers with the black wings came to them. The soldiers threw this guy straight inside. Then the newspaper called out the prince. We've sent this traitor here. The photographer poked his face out. Look at the black guy kneeling on the ground. Tell the soldiers to work hard. Here's a little knitting. You don't have to be patient. The soldier took it and opened the lid of Ra's jar. Take a breath of pleasure. He respectfully said, please be careful. This trader has the power of the golden star. The photographer replied casually, it's sealed and tied up. Don't worry. So they asked permission. Then let's go back first. Let the soldiers go. The new photographer came gently to ask you what your name was. The Kier looked puzzled. Then he said 2 short words from the sword. Photography for an hour. Then turned to the opposite seat and asked directly, if I give you a chance for revenge, what would you do? To make the sword look bewildered, explain that I am not a member of the World Bank. There's no good feeling about the family's glow. The whole sword is in a deep voice. If there was such an opportunity, then I will take the head of the thief. He laughed and said, I will help you. Of course, I'm not going to run off to fight my brother. I have no feelings for them either. I have no hatred for them either. But I will make you stronger. Let me be free. When the sword heard that, it struck its head. If you can get revenge, I will accept you as my master for the rest of my life. My whole life together with you. Never betray. Take a pill and tell him to drink it. The sword immediately opened its mouth and swallowed. The courage is also great. I'm not afraid to hurt you. The sword says, you can avenge me. Then my life belongs to you. You can take it anytime you want. The photographer is very energetic. We have a way. It can turn you into a superpower. Even super Vietnamese legend level. But have to endure the shoes. Pain and suffering, do you want it? The sword lifted its edge and said, the life of my sword, the torments and suffering suffered are few sao. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Listen to him talk here. A lot of words. He took out a pile of needles in his hand and said, you have the blood of the black dragon. We can activate the black dragon's blood vessels. You are a descendant of the dragon. Once the blood vessel is activated, at least can reach the level of transmission. The sword asked in surprise, you mean I can become a fake legend sao? The photographer confirmed that. The power of the dragon is not simple. Long clan lowest level can also be on par with the false flag transmission. The only thing that has to suffer is me. In the next 10 days, your power will reach the next level. But it's still far below the true standard. When your strength is not enough, you must be patient. Don't say 10 days, 15 days, we can wait. The photographer reminded me not to be so sure. But the sword urged him to do it. He reminded me not to rush to practice medicine. Just to recover my strength. Wait for you to recover, and we will continue. After a while, Li. It's constantly plugged in. Into the body of the sword. To the 36th needle. The sword cannot be resisted now. That he screamed frantically, as if losing his mind. Full-body sword. It's a powerful gas source. Trong Min just arrived. I saw the sword screaming furiously. That's amazing. His body is stabbing gold needles on him. Suddenly, LAN energy radiates out. That makes these needles break. Hear the cry of sorrow. To make the goggles outside say in surprise. Trader of the sword. In the face of ROI, skyrocketing all day and all night, not even an hour. This time it was a while ago. The scream is getting worse and worse. Make the soldier sweat. I can't believe the young master is sure. It looks elegant. but torturing people so horribly. Immediately, then someone came to tell him that he had not translated the patriarch. Great person. The young man must have started to try the medicine. I heard that the sword was tortured. The sound could be heard for miles. Not surprisingly, he said, this kid is a genius too. On one side, the suspect said, your father has thought a lot. This guy is a little suspicious. But they don't laugh, haha. That's not the point. We just need to cure this family disease. That he was useful. At least we have to wait, when we know the complete cure. Out of his mouth and kill him later. Red Moon also agrees. On the Vietnamese side, the scream of the sword echoed endlessly. He was in great pain. He looked at him anxiously and asked, you're not really going to take the reagent. Retreat stopped children on one side. Look at the sword in the background. I'm sure not. The Lord said, I gave him a gift. To what extent is it achieved? It's all thanks to his creation. We don't pay attention to him anymore. Let's go down and practice. So we all went downstairs. Let the sword itself cry out bitterly. Everyone goes back to their room. Spiritual practice, even if you don't translate, send people, brings a large amount of chained blood. Deba. Stop Nie has been practicing wind and lightning ditch long Dao. Reach the golden level. A few days later, the rest of us are also getting promoted. There's only one left to practice divinity. It's much harder to level up compared to others. However, there are so many blood chains. It's not that hard. The soul is strong enough to fill the soul. It will be pressed. The photographer holds the chain in his hand. It emits soul power. Gradually squeeze the air in. One by one, the patient retreat. He quickly squeezed the 7 soul force balls. Suddenly, the photographer woke up and said he could. The source of the soul, the force in the body glows. From the soul of the sea, the seedling has begun to grow. Grows shoots and branches. It quickly sprouted to branches. Put it in the tiger. Pandas and photo lovers. The photographer was amazed. The power in the soul of the sea. It can turn into a real form. So watch out. My understanding of soul power is still nothing. Next we'll adjust the soul force and control it at the platinum level. Avoid the private name that does not translate Gear Play something. While the photographer is adjusting the gas. The time has also passed 10 days. The sword is now waking up. I looked at him and asked him why. The gas is getting weaker. 6 nervous adventurers ask not just to die. So we're all nervous right now. The photographer also came, looking at the suffering sword lying on the ground. I thought if the sword could be so strong, there's a chance to be a great fake. On the contrary, the sword suddenly fell silent. It hurts the photographer to turn his head. He looked up and said he was no longer breathing. But suddenly, a second later, the heart's pounding came out. It makes us stand like an avocado in shock. The photographer smiled softly. Quickly, a powerful force explodes. That's why the sword was revived. He broke the chains that were binding him. 6 stupid adventurers who looked to ask, what monster is he after all? The squeaks from the muscles being turned on. The sword stood before their eyes. With a very strong body. With black wings on my shoulders. The chains that once bound. He was crushed when the fire broke out. And then the wings spread out, and I was so worried. He slowly opened his eyes and walked forward. The amazing sword raised its hand. Feel the power of yourself. He saw the photographer coming coldly. It made the 6 adventurers standing there terrified of sweating. When you see the danger. Suddenly, the sword fell to the ground. The ceremony before. Photographer. Thanks to the owner's reconstruction for the sword. From now on, this life belongs to the owner. If the owner wants us to live, we live. If I want to die, I will die. She looked down at the sword with a smile. He took out a chain in his pocket and said, "The force of your body can be compared to the false flag transmission. But the real battle with the Gao dynasty. You are not a temporary opponent. We can't reveal our true power. You should still bring this chain back." The sword agreed to listen. "Yes, master, in your mind, no thief. Just wait." He looked at the body of the sword. "I found the letter in front of my stomach. It's the seal that's gone." He sighed for a moment and then gave hand a drawing. Laughing, "Bring this seal up like this. They probably won't be able to see it." He pulled his wings back a little. "You can tie up the sword." It looked the same as before. But in fact, the seal has been lifted. Now you can also practice. You have now reached the rank of Kim. Then look at your smiling friends. Our team is stronger. It's still raining heavily outside right now. Park said, "That's a lot of chimpanzees. We're all golden." The photographer sighed that he had only reached the golden level. "We still need to keep practicing. Let's go out for a walk. Let's see what the budget situation is. Waiting for the magic stone to arrive. We're leaving this place." "Nie Li suggests photography, or let me go with you." But he jumped out and said he didn't need it. "Please stay here." Many people go inconveniently. The sword is also dumbfounded. Passing through the soldiers, they also startled him to call out to him. He turned around and said hello for an hour. Then he fell straight down. In the meantime, there's a predator. It's screaming furiously. The royalty and the soldiers, trying to control it. Let us see if the doctor is. Living here is not comfortable either. Every day we live under the threat of love. He looked over there. Then think, it's better if you don't have the golden key or guys watching. Then he remembered this side. It's their mine. On the ore side, the slaves are digging hard for ore. One of them was too tired to breathe. He was attacked by the soldier. Made him fall on his face. Meanwhile, the moon above is looking cold. I saw the princess's face. The yellow soldier next to. She intended to take it. He went to the servant who had been whipped. SOI is lying moaning on the ground. ROI in your hand. Skin scavenging scraps. This little thing isn't done either. So he whipped it. Put a powerful ROI on the sick old man's back. Makes the shirt clean up the bleeding flesh. That's why he tried to get up. But because it was so painful, I screamed. But the yellow armor guy was upset and whipped more ROI. Cursing the useless old man. Make the old man fall on his face and scream bitterly. This one hit out. The old man was seriously injured in front of his chest. It's laying on the ground. The yellow armor man saw that and gave a faint smile. Suddenly, a slave ran to embrace the old man. Call GIAGIA. Grinded my teeth and screeched, "You must not fight my family anymore." After listening to the yellow armor, he swung down. "You want to die, little girl." The young man was fed, ROI extremely. AK is full of anger. "The old man told you to ignore me." But the young man insisted on not doing it. The hot-blooded yellow soldier is about to swing down. "You're a stubborn boy." When the ROI is hit raw, then suddenly, the photographer came to stop him with his hands. The two grandkids in the back are amazing. The yellow-faced soldier was surprised. Cold chain then pull ROI back. But she glared at him. The twisted hand wants to let go of the ROI raw. Made the soldier uneasy to ask, "You are the one who let me go." But the waiter replied, "I am a waiter." His hands are still holding the twisted ROI. At this time, the red moon also flew over here. The soldier spoke. "Drag Prince, I am not a member of the World Bank. It's best if the guy doesn't get involved." Red Moon glanced at the reminder. "Not to be disrespectful. My son is a guest of the Royal Academy of Medicine. He listened to me." Red Moon turned to the prince. "This Kai Tin blood chain mineral mine, it's the land of the World Bank. The public that's affecting the mining here. It's not very good. More, they are also just humble slaves. What does a man need to show up?" The photographer thought this woman had no humanity. "I didn't realize before." Then he said, "Red Moon, I want to take this young man away." Rose was silent for a few seconds and couldn't answer. The people in this mine, they were all branded slaves. Just go 1,000 meters away from here. It will explode and die. These people are from rival families. Of course, the state budget has to be careful. Stunned photographer thinks blood pressure SAO. Not expected. The World Bank uses such cruel tricks. When there is blood on you, unless TVI breaks through to the golden level, it cannot be removed forever. And then he looked at the young slave and he thought, "Kid, I'm afraid I can't save you. Make the Red Moon see and smile softly." And the photographer gently came to ask the boy, "What's your name?" He stared at the photographer's clothes, full of discomfort, thinking dress grooming. Maybe he's one of them too. Cold and turned his face to work for a cinnamon photographer in the country. He sighed, thinking there was no way I could save you. And then he puts the pointer on his forehead. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, makes the boy know. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, the radio station says you have to rely on yourself. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, I hope after these sufferings, all of a sudden, all of a sudden, you can grow up. All of a sudden, then turn around and leave. Make the boy in the back hog away. Look at the shadow of his back. Private is not." She was confused, and the photographer came back. "I was more or less guilty of talking earlier. I hope my brother forgives me." He took out the pills in his hand. "Give this to your brother. I hope brothers later. Don't make it hard on the two of them. You don't feel like you're crazy in your stomach." But he still picked up the pill. Taking a breath is amazing. I realized it was good. He grinned and said, "What did you say?" "If you've said that, of course, we won't make it difficult for them. Let me say that to you from here." And then he turned away bored. Then think, there are so many grievances in this world. I can't manage it all alone. And then they let people go. The boy is still looking at Theo. He unconsciously put his hand on his forehead, where the photographer just pointed out. Think about the question before. The photographer asked what your name was, along with his friendly smile. And the photographer right now, he's pissed off. punch the old tree. They hurt their fingers. To diffuse the rage in the heart of hatred in the family of others. We should remain neutral. But I'm angry. He was so angry that he flew down the tree. Then take out a blood vessel. Hand dipped and painted on the tree. He painted it like a charm or something. And then I'll jump to another tree and paint on it. The Lord said to leave a gift for you. The regalia on this tree. It will hide itself in a moment. Every time I walk around in the domain of the World Bank, when you go to a place where there are no people, the photographer left a mark on the tree. More than 10 days on the tree. Everywhere there are traces of photography. Vietnamese special scene of the group of photographers. Now stop practicing and wondering. I've been practicing dragonflies to this extent. How should this long-suffering phrase be understood? Photographer explains soaking long kai injured. Immersion long kai injured only 6 acupressure points of the body. These 6 acupressure points are hiding under the acupressure points, the normal human. It's hard to detect. He then asked the 6 points where they were hiding. The photographer said these 6 points. Suddenly, he sighed a little. He said even if he said it, it would be hard to find. Come to me and tell me to help you. The photographer gave out his soul force to speak. It's about an inch below. Divine acupressure points of the body. Stop being afraid to feel. Think, soul, the force of the photographer moves through our bodies. And then she was so excited. How good Tim thinks it is. Listen to the photographer. The photographer continued, God is about an inch from heaven. Then the eyes look at the grapefruit in front of them. I stood there and asked where it was. The photographer is a little shy. He said it was the place before. I use magic to help you massage. But a little below. He stopped blushing, remembering the scene before. Photographer helps her massage. Suddenly, they were a little embarrassed to look at each other. Suddenly, 6 panicked adventurers rushed to call the photographer. I see this dark air. Made 6 adventurers laugh softly and say annoying. When he was about to leave, the photographer called back. What happened? 6 funny, he or private, does not translate. Send someone to deliver. That we found the glorious stone. He looked back and wondered. Why did you stop being red? The photographer did something again. What's wrong? Cheer up. There is Kuan Yu stone. We can leave this place at any time. Hurry up and tell me to find it. Don't translate, you stay here. On the side of the hall, laughing rah ha ha. I found the magic stone for you. And we found over 60 more. More than 60 SAO beauty photographers help themselves. There are. But he still has the courage to work hard. There is Kuan Yu stone. We can go to the outside world. Just find the rest of the herbs. It's possible to make an antidote. Private does not translate, agree to say or this. The message said, tell me what medicine to look for. I was wrong to look for. After the healing is over. Can we send off the messenger? Even though we are refugees from the outside world, you should know its danger. You can't put the message in danger. More. The message of staying in the bank is also very good. My son is 3 years older than you, but more beautiful than you. Being gentle and decent is not bad. If you give me pink moon, solve the burden for me. Hearing this makes the photographer chicken. Think softly and modestly. Red moon is also upset to think about what kind of joke. So the photographer said reverently, I was joking, and I made it worth the red moon. Billions aesthetic. If you do not translate, it will not be easy to deliver. Kuan Yu Stone, I have to think of a new way. Don't laugh, haha. The message does not need to be humble. Your VI is not the same as the red moon. It's based on pharmaceutical technology. Then you deserve it too. Vietnamese nasty. This old man hasn't given up yet, he said. Maybe the wrong person picked the medicine first. But the outside world appears amused. It's extremely dangerous. I'm afraid they don't know where to pick their medicine. If so, go without coming back. If you don't listen to me, you say it with a message. Go pick medicine with my people. If the outside world is so dangerous, then I'll send more masters with you. Can your friends just stay here? The photographer agreed. I don't know if they're going to send someone to escort me. But in my heart, I realized taking them hostage is cruel. He replied in my territory. Only we have reached the high school. In addition, there are 2 black and golden elders, but they have so much to do that they can't leave. I sent 5 golden robbers to escort you. Is that enough? The photographer laughed, haha, thinking. Looks like he's scared of the outside world. And then she said she thought a lot. 2 gold is enough. The outside world is not dangerous. It's not like my father imagined. But he said there were 2 of us, and we weren't sure. Let 5 people escort you. The photographer agrees to say that. But we have a request. Unsurprisingly, he asked what he wanted. Just say the message. The photographer said, a lot of herbs have elusive medicinal properties. I want to take the sword with me to try the medicine. There is no question in the mind of the photographer. I like the sword so much. But I've been trying drugs these days. But the new sword is only the golden star. Can't do anything. I think he can agree too. Give me the sword. I can't get out tomorrow. Then bend over and we'll come down here. It's hard not to translate. But in the dark thought, your friends are in your hands. I don't believe you once he come back. When he turns away, he called the red moon. Tell them they're going to do something. She laughed and said, of course, you will. But just lock up his friend here. Not afraid of him not coming back. This guy has compassion. He will not abandon his friends. Private Knot folded smiling hand, very good. If the disease of the World Bank can be cured, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Waiting for me to rule all the worlds here. I will go to the outside world to see it. Over here, he told his friends 10 days later. Then point to the map and continue. When we move, everyone runs this way. That's the basic situation. He's all over the map. Then stroked his nose. He said that this time the bank will be in trouble. Let's see it all. Then he looked at the sword. He is also ready for everything. The soldiers quickly appeared to call out the prince. We've got to go. The soldier glanced at. I looked at the sword in a corner. The cold ghost laughed contemptuously, and then we're not great. This time in charge of safety. The photographer asked, did you bring the glorious stone? It's not cool to take a stone and say yes. Please take a look. Let's talk about the prince. But when the photographer and Tay say thank you, the man hurried back the stone. As a photographer from Tay, he offered to take our boy away. The photographer also told me to go. 6 adventure and park trash co-bar detector photographer. Be careful on the road. Children are also worried about looking. But she laughed softly and said, "Don't you worry." Now the soldiers turned to hate. The sword screeched, "Stand up for me." Then they threw a penalty in his face. Make the sword unbearable. He looked at the soldier with cold eyes. To be an overbearing soldier, I asked my mother to look at me. He immediately reached out and started his arms and legs, and throw a kick straight at the striker and the sword. Then humiliate my mother. You're just a woman who doesn't know integrity. Take the lead again. Foreign-born piss interracial. You are still alive now. You still have good luck. He kept putting his foot in the face of the sword. Just trampled the body. Just trampled on the mother of the sword. Eyes of the enemy for hundreds of thousands. Makes the soldier spasm hard to understand. The photographer behind worried. If you take the sword, everything will be ruined. He came to talk about this brother. You don't have to be so angry about a slave. It's not necessary. I want to use him to test my brother's medicine. If you hurt him, we still have to use medicine to heal him. He gave me some knitting pills. He brought his hand out 6. It's not great to threaten. The best sword on the way. You should be a little honest. If you do anything, I'll rip you off. When he finished, he spit out his saliva. Then tell me to go. Before going to the photographer, look at the aesthetic sword. You just have to cross the threshold of the World Bank. The beginning of the sword. It can't be quantified later. It's still murky outside, wet and pouring water. In the distance, looking at the photographers. Go and give orders, this time after bringing the medicine back. It will immediately kill the sword. He has not destroyed the sword. It is hard to be at peace in my heart. The red moon beside him assured his father. But in my heart, I think your father is a great power. But in my heart, I am wary of someone. Just reached the golden level. Over here, the demons who attacked the 4 were not great. Then he came out with a deadly blow. And then look around and feel it. These demons are disgusting. Now another said, if you don't think of a solution, kill them all. They will come more and more. Private workers don't complain about complicated tasks. So he ordered us to move forward. The whole crowd shouted clearly. The photographer looked at the sword that signaled. It's not cool to pull out the sword. He jumped up and down, along with other soldiers who deal with the demon chains. A chaotic battle that clouds the smoke. A few hours passed. The demons they killed. It's all over this place. If you are not great, your ears are tired, breathing like a running dog. He glanced at the photographer. Calmly whistling, but itchy eyes cold. I hate to think this guy is so cute. Over here, the photographer turned to laugh and said he had won. Now it's your turn. Seconds later, it's not completely stupid. When the cold sword comes here. He swung Ra's muscle and the chain broke. The sword glared at the private, not great. It scares him. He looked at the broken chain and shouted, kill him now. 3 soldiers immediately rushed to attack the sword. He quickly spread his wings. But surprisingly, when the swords come, it is impossible to cut the flesh of a sword. Make yourself not horrified by asking questions. What's going on? One of them took a sword straight at me. But the man of the sword is harder than stone. It can't be pierced. The sword is broken. Now they realize that this body is too hard. The sword glared furiously at him. He threw a punch right into his chest. Let this guy breathe. He hit the ground running.